Look in the mirror, really look. The person staring back isn't broken, fragile, or defeated. No, that reflection holds the story of someone who refused to stay down, someone who bore the weight of the world and still chose to rise. That face, marked with worry, those eyes that have seen pain, and that posture perhaps a little bent by the burdens of yesterday, don't tell a story of weakness. They tell a story of resilience. They are proof living, breathing proof that every fight you survived didn't destroy you. It built you. You weren't buried by your battles, you were planted by them, rooted deeper into the ground so that you could grow taller and stronger than you ever imagined. The scars you carry, both the ones people can see and the ones buried in the silence of your soul, aren't signs of failure. They're badges, symbols of war. Each one whispers, I made it through. They are the silent testimonies of your courage in moments when fear could have won. They tell stories of nights you cried quietly, days you wore a smile while hiding storms inside, moments when you stood tall in rooms that tried to shrink you. They say, you've been tested, and more importantly, you passed. Not because you always won, but because you never stopped showing up. Think of the sleepless nights, the ones where the weight of your thoughts kept you awake, where uncertainty crept into your chest and made it hard to breathe. The voices in your head, the doubts that said, you're not enough, you'll never make it, why even try? You heard them, but you kept going. You moved forward in silence when no one clapped for you. You pushed through darkness with no map, no guide, just faith that maybe, just maybe, something better waited on the other side of the pain. Every dream that shattered, every plan that fell apart, every person who let you down, all of it shaped you. It didn't harden your heart, it taught you to protect it. It didn't kill your hope, it forced you to water it yourself. What the world tried to use to break you only made you sharper, wiser, and more determined. You became the kind of person who doesn't just survive storms, you learn to dance in the rain. You became the kind of soul who doesn't beg for strength. You become it. So look in the mirror again. See that survivor. See that warrior. See that version of you that's been battle tested and built not in comfort, but in chaos. You didn't get here by accident. You earned every inch of your growth. You earned the right to be proud. Because the truth is, quitting was never your story. Endurance was. We often grow up believing that strength is the child of success. That those who wear medals and smile on magazine covers were simply destined to be strong. But the truth is far less glamorous and far more inspiring. Strength isn't born from success. It is born from struggle. It's not crafted in the spotlight, but in the shadows. Real strength is forged in the gym of pain, in the arena of failure, and on the battlefield of rejection. It's built in moments when the heart breaks quietly, when tears fall silently, and when no one is there to wipe them away. It is molded in the lonely hours when you question your worth, your path, and your very ability to keep going. Think back. Do you remember those moments when you truly believed it was over? When everything you worked for fell apart, when those you trusted turned away, when you were left standing alone with nothing but your dreams and doubts? The silence after disappointment can be deafening. The weight of failure can feel unbearable. And yet, you kept going. That's what makes you rare. That's what makes you powerful. You showed up even when there was no applause, when the world didn't notice, and when your efforts weren't validated by likes or approval. You built without blueprints, trusted a vision no one else could see, and laid bricks with hands that were trembling. You walked into rooms where no one knew your story and still carried yourself like you belonged, because deep down, you knew you were building something greater than what the world could understand. You see, the strongest warriors are not the loudest in the room. They are the ones who fought wars no one saw. They faced demons in their own minds, stood at the edge of giving up, and somehow without fanfare or applause, they chose to stand up again. That silent war, the one no one congratulated you for winning. That inner fight you had to face in isolation? That's what sculpted your power. It wasn't a motivational quote that saved you. It was you. Dragging yourself out of bed when your spirit felt broken. Holding yourself together when you were unraveling inside. Smiling through pain. Hoping through despair. You didn't just survive, you evolved. And the person you are becoming is not only strong, they are unshakable. So next time you doubt your worth, don't measure it by applause or trophies. Measure it by what you endured in silence, by the storms you've weathered, and by the strength it took just to take the next step when everything screamed, give up. Because the truth is simple. You are powerful beyond measure. Not because life was easy, but because you were brave enough to keep going when it wasn't. Let me tell you a story. Not of a man born with everything, but of one who had every reason to quit and never did. A man named Abraham Lincoln, who didn't come from wealth, fame, or status. He didn't wear a crown. He wore struggles. Life was not gentle to him. It carved him, chiseled him, and beat him down more times than most. People could survive. At just 9 years old, he lost his mother, leaving a wound no child should bear. As a young man at 23, he invested in a business venture, and it failed. Most would be discouraged. But Lincoln wasn't most people. At 25, he ran for the state legislature. He lost. At 26, he tried to rebuild his business and failed again. These weren't just small setbacks. They were heavy blows to a young man trying to find his way in a hard world. Then, at 27, the emotional toll finally caught up with him. He suffered a nervous breakdown, the kind that makes even the strongest doubt their worth. Still, he endured. At 34, he lost the love of his life, his beloved fiancée. Grief nearly broke him again, but heartbreak didn't stop him either. Years passed. He continued to climb, falling every time. At 45, he ran for the U.S. Senate. He lost. At 47, he aimed higher Vice President of the United States. Another loss. And at 49, yet another defeat in the Senate. Most people would have stopped chasing public office after just one failure, let alone 6 or 7. But Lincoln wasn't chasing a title. He was answering a calling. He didn't become great in spite of his losses. He became great because of them. Every time. He was knocked down. He stood back up, not weaker, but wiser, tougher, more refined. Each rejection became a lesson. Each heartbreak shaped his empathy. Each defeat molded his resilience. And then, when the odds were still stacked against him, when many had already written him off as a man who almost made it at the age of 51, Abraham Lincoln became the 16th President of the United States, one of the greatest leaders the world has ever known. His journey is the ultimate proof that greatness doesn't require a perfect path. It demands perseverance. He wasn't extraordinary because everything went right. He was extraordinary because nothing did, and he kept going anyway. His life teaches us that pain is not the enemy, it's the process. That every no you here is just a redirection towards something better. And that you don't become remarkable by avoiding failure, you become remarkable by surviving it. So if life has been hard on you lately, if the world feels too heavy, if the path forward seems too long, remember Lincoln. Remember that the struggle is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of something greater, You are not weak because you feel pain. In fact, it is your pain that proves you are alive, that you care, that you're striving for something greater. Pain is not a sign of defeat. It is the birthplace of transformation. You are not a failure because you've lost. Loss simply means you dared to try, to risk, to step outside the comfort zone while others stood still. Losing doesn't define your worth, it defines your will. And through it all, you kept going. That's what makes you a fighter. Not the absence of wounds, but the choice to rise while still bleeding. Even when no one was watching, even when no one clapped, you moved forward. And that matters more than perfection ever could. Look at you. You're still here. After everything. After the broken dreams, the silent cries, the lonely nights. After the betrayal, the doubt, the exhaustion. You are still standing shaken maybe, but never shattered. And more than that, you are still becoming, still evolving, still rewriting your story. The version of you today is already stronger than the one from yesterday, and it's because of what you endured, not in spite of it. So when life throws you into the fire again, and it will, don't fear the heat. Don't shrink from the burn, because you are the flame. You were never meant to be extinguished. You were meant to ignite, to blaze a trail so bright that darkness flees from your presence. And think of Abraham Lincoln not as a distant figure in a dusty history book, but as a man who lived through defeat after defeat, heartbreak after heartbreak. Yet he kept rising. He became great not because the road was smooth, but because he refused to stop walking when it was rough. Like Lincoln, every fight you survive is not a setback. It's a step forward. Every moment that tried to break you actually built you. Every no prepared you for a greater yes. Every rejection carved away weakness and exposed resilience. You are becoming the version of yourself that the world can no longer overlook. The kind of person whose scars tell stories of strength, whose silence echoes with power, whose presence demands respect not because of loudness, but because of quiet, unwavering persistence. So rise up, speak louder, walk taller, be proud, not just of what you've achieved, but of what you survived. You were not built by ease. You were not shaped by comfort. You were built in the storm, forged in the fire, molded by the moments that should have broken you but didn't. You were built by every fight you survived, and that makes you unstoppable.